It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
I want to welcome back to the program. We got the co-chair of Red Wave America PAC and founder of ReaganBabe.com. Megan Barth is back with us. Megan, how are you this morning?
Good morning, Paul. I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Now, I'm pretty excited about the President of the United States giving his first Oval Office address tonight during prime time. What are your thoughts on this so far?
Well, I think it's better late than never, and it's definitely overdue in time. I think that the White House really hasn't, sold this necessity specifically when it comes to the crisis at the border. And we first learned last week, and I've been saying this for quite some time, that the president does have the authority to declare a national emergency, specifically in times that pose a imminent danger, and our open border is an imminent danger to our country. Every week it seems like we get new news that another innocent American citizen, or last week in case a legal citizen by the name of Officer Singh, was killed at the hands of the illegal alien or an illegal alien. And, watching Harrell last night, unfortunately, on Hannity, he's one of the typical, liberals, if you will, that just doesn't get it. It is not humanitarian to have an open border. It is not humanitarian, or it does not provide sanctuary to the innocent citizens of this country or the innocent legal citizens of this country. 100% of illegal aliens have no right to be here. They have committed a crime. An illegal alien is not a race. A legal alien is a crime. And so what President Trump must do tonight from the Oval Office, I'm glad to see that this address will be given, is basically sell to the Americans the necessity for him to take actions such as declaring a national emergency and building the wall without congressional approval.
What are you hearing in terms of whether or not he will or won't declare a national emergency? On the way in to do the show this morning, I was listening to the mainstream media, and it seemed like they were setting it up, saying, "Well, he's probably not going to do this," which kind of makes me think that he will do this.
Well, I think that there's been a great crescendo, if you will, leading up to this address. And the crescendo has been now since that reporter had asked him in the Rose Garden about, declaring a national emergency. And Trump said, well, he's considering it. And so you hear this going, basically kind of percolating, right, and getting much more stronger from the White House about declaring a national emergency. And therefore, I think that he'll do it, and I think that he should. Like I said, I was saying, months ago, that he should declare a national emergency because he has the authority and the purview to do so. Mm-hmm. And this is, if he's going to declare a national emergency at any time, this would be the time that would do it, especially because the Democrats have already demonstrated that they have absolutely zero interest in building a wall. It's interesting. I was watching the tweet. Jim Jordan actually sent out a tweet, or maybe it was Steve Scalise. I think it was Jordan yesterday. And he basically said, if walls are immoral, then why doesn't Nancy Pelosi tear down or write a bill to tear down the wall between Tijuana and San Diego?
Yes.
There are plenty of walls here along our border, and there's certainly plenty of walls surrounding the homes of Democrat politicians. Mm-hmm. And there's that old saying that fences make great neighbors. Well, so do walls.
Yeah, we're talking with Megan Barth, the co-chair of Red Wave America PAC, also founder of ReaganBabe.com. You guys need to check it out. Megan, it's interesting that you mentioned, the Democrats, they all have supported a barrier of some kind in the past. But now, I said this on Friday, Lindsey Graham said this over the weekend as well, that the Democrats don't want to support any sort of barrier, fence, wall, whatever, because they think it's racist. And so I started thinking, and this is the true thing. I mean, they think, or at least they don't want to be aligned. I mean, it's not racist, but this is the perception that they're trying to, put out there, that Donald Trump is a racist, Nazi, KGB agent that's loyal to the Saudi Arabian government. It's, this is like the list gets longer every single day. But how in the world, if it's immoral to have a wall, they say, well, we're for border security. We're Democrats. We're for border security, but we're not for a wall. Well, if a wall is immoral, isn't border security immoral also?
Right, and that's kind of the point of the Jim Jordan text I had pointed out, and a very good point that you make. Then the whole border is immoral. And this is really where now the Democrats have gotten. They've kind of progressed from a wall is not needed to Trump is a racist to the wall is immoral, and thereby trying to be the moral arbiters of what is moral. And for the Democrats to be the moral arbiters of anything, specifically when they are the advocates of abortion on demand at any time, is laughable.
Mm-hmm.
And so they've now framed this argument into an amoral or immoral wall, rather, than simply just a structure, providing our protection. It doesn't really make any sense, but the Democrats are betting that many of their, I would say, ignorant followers will eat it up. And again, a legal alien is not a race. A legal alien is a crime.
Yes.
And if we did have, I would say, the chutzpah to do so, we should be deporting everyone that is here living illegally because they have zero right to be here. We spend $138 billion, I believe was the last total I saw, on the care, welfare, and incarceration of illegal aliens. The remittances that Mexican nationals are sending back to their home country are in excess of $50 billion annually. I think 2017 was the largest transfer of remittances in the history of the country. So I've said, and President Trump has floated this idea as well, why aren't we putting a 50% tax on remittances?
Yeah.
We could build a wall with that money.
That's a great
why aren't
point.
we taxing the cars and the trucks that are coming across our border? I have to pay a toll if I go to California, for example, on a private highway called the 73. They keep raising that toll every time I go down it seems. I think it's $6 now one way, $6 the other way in rush hour. Why aren't we charging $20 per car at the border? Why aren't we charging $40 per truck at the border? We could recoup this $5.6 billion that Trump wants for the border probably within a week or two if we tax remittances and tax trucks and cars that pass our border.
It's fascinating. Even the Washington Post, back to the national emergency, the Washington Post's Deanna Paul wrote yesterday that this time President Trump is right about the law, and talking about he does have the authority. Under the 1976 law, Congress passed the National Emergencies Act. It permits the president to pronounce a national emergency on a whim at his discretion. The act offers no definition of emergency. It lays out no required criteria. It demands no showing by the president. It's clearly a law that gives deference to the executive branch. So that being said, Megan, this address tonight by the president, I understand it's like going to be 8 minutes or something. He really has an opportunity here to communicate how dangerous the border is. I mean, we've got drugs, we've got sex trafficking. We have in some places it's some of the most violent. It's one of the most violent places on the planet. Not to mention the invasion. Okay, if you want to call it the invasion of the caravan, which that's what I would say, or you could say it's a humanitarian crisis. Either or, right? I mean, it is a national emergency.
Well, it is, and actually on New Year's Eve day, I was just at the Ace Hardware down the street, and I ran into a Minuteman that I happen to know, and he was headed down to the border. And they had, I guess, arrested, if you will, international foreign invaders, 8 men from Pakistan.
Gosh.
And he says what we're arresting here specifically at this one point that does not have a wall, where the cameras that border security, it's kind of a blind spot, if you will, for the cameras. He said, we're not arresting, women and children. We are arresting military-aged men that are illegally crossing our border and trying to invade our country from all parts of the world. It's not just Mexico. It's not just Central America. These military-aged men are coming from all over the world. The word is out that if you can penetrate the American border, you can then disappear into the shadows, specifically into the sanctuary state like California. And so with the rise of the terrorist threats that we continually face on an ongoing daily basis, this would be a national emergency. I was reading a headline that said, Trump lied. Of course, the mainstream media. Trump lied. There weren't thousands of terrorists arrested at the border. There were 6. Okay, well, how many is too many for the left? I would say 1.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and this is something that we know. Terrorists, that they'll exploit any weakness that we have, and
Sure.
that we have reports of this forever. This is what I was talking about in the first hour. Just because the status quo has been that we're comfortable with, or at least our leaders are comfortable with decades of unchecked illegal immigration, just because that's the status quo, and now you've got somebody who's made it his campaign, you got somebody who's bringing it to the national forefront, and he's trying to do something about it. I mean, the idea of controlling who comes into your country isn't even a product of Western civilization. It's just simply a prerequisite for any civilization. And so what he is trying to do is extremely responsible. President Trump is trying to be a responsible executive because he understands that he has the obligation to protect the nation. And I'm excited about this address. We're talking with Megan Barth. She's the co-chair of Red Wave America PAC and founder of ReaganBabe.com. Megan, you feel free to talk anything about what I just said there, but I also wanted to get your opinion about what happened last week with a Washington Post op-ed by Mitt Romney, super critical of the president, questioning his character. What was your response or reaction to that?
Well, I'll just make a last point on the border. The primary duty of the commander-in-chief is to protect us from enemies, foreign and domestic. And if that means closing the border or declaring a national emergency, as you indicated, he has every lawful right to do so. Now, we should not expect that it's going to be as easy if he declares a national emergency, because, of course, lawsuits are going to follow, and those lawsuits will be headed up by, the typical left. As far as Mitt Romney is concerned, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at the timing of it. The timing was not a mistake. The timing was with intent. Right before Mitt Romney is sworn on the Senate, he chooses Jeff Bezos' blog, the leftist Washington Post, to publish an op-ed. He probably could have published that op-ed anywhere. He specifically chose the Washington Post, and he specifically chose that time. It wasn't ignorant of him to do so. It was a publicity stunt. He wanted to make sure that he was going to exercise whatever little power he had when he was coming in as a junior senator from Utah in order to, on his way in, slap the president. He wouldn't slap Barack Obama, and President Trump made that point that perhaps if Mitt Romney would have fought harder, we would be referring to him as President Mitt Romney and not the junior senator from Utah. But this is a typical moderate, and we can't forget where Mitt Romney comes from, or any moderate, for example. Romney's dad had partnered with the quote-unquote Rockefeller Republicans in order to sabotage Ronald Reagan's initial chances of running for president. They thought that he wasn't, an appropriate fit, so to speak. He's one of the greatest presidents of our lifetime, and why I named my blog after him, ReaganBabe.com. And so Mitt Romney has always been a big government moderate. All moderates are big government moderates. All moderates love to do deals with big government. Democrats, in order to grow government, you never see moderates doing deals with the likes of the Freedom Caucus, the conservatives in Congress. And so moderate Republicans, I've said time and time again, and I've written about this time and time again, is that they've destroyed the brand of Reagan. They've destroyed the brand of conservatism. They've literally destroyed or nearly destroyed the GOP. Moderates don't win national elections. Moderates do deals with Democrats. John McCain backstabbed his constituents when he did not repeal Obamacare in the 11th hour after he promised for years to repeal Obamacare. So you can't trust a moderate. You can't trust Mitt Romney. But what we can trust about moderates is that they will always backstab the Republican base in favor of their Democrats to reach across the aisle.
Yeah. It's really sad because they're exposed as being frauds because, moderates will agree with some of the policy goals that conservatives want. And then now you have President Trump implementing them, and are they just jealous because they're not the ones doing it, or were they never really supportive of those ideas in the first place?
The latter. They'll agree with the conservative ideas and principles in order to get elected because conservative ideas and principles are electable in winning issues. We see it time and time again. But then you'll have the consultant class that will come in and say, oh, no, you must moderate your positions in order to grow the tent. No, that's not how the tent grows. That's how the tent shrinks, and that's why we lost 2 national elections that we should have easily won, namely McCain and Romney. And so the moderates will use GOP resources. They will use GOP funds. They will use GOP assets like people on the ground, et cetera, phone banking, in order to get elected under the conservative ideas. And then they will go ahead and never believe in them in the first place. They simply believe that they can win using them. And then when they're useful to them, once they're useful to them, then they'll discard them once they get an ounce of power.
Yeah. That sounds a whole lot like some of our local politicians here in the state of Arkansas as well.
Megan, all politics is local.
That's right. That's right. Megan Barth, the co-chair of Red Wave America PAC and founder of ReaganBabe.com. It's always great to have you on, and I hope you have a fantastic day.
Great to be with you, too, Paul. Thank you so much. Anytime.
Thank you.